Find out why William and Charles clashed over flying in a helicopter.
And Harry says it's still too dangerous for Meghan to return to the UK.
Harry's warning is making headlines again, and this time it's about Meghan's safety in the UK. Plus, fears around King Charles and Prince William flying together are sparking new royal protocols. What's really going on behind palace walls? Prince Harry is once again sounding the alarm about Meghan Markle's safety, and this time he's not mincing words.
Hello and welcome to Heirs and Spares, the show where we bring you insight and opinion into the lives of two rather famous royal couples on either side of the Atlantic. I'm Kinsey Schofield and I'll be bringing you updates on the Duke and Duchess of Sussex right here in California.
And I'm Rupert Bell in the UK, different location for me this week. I'm not quite sure where I am, but I will still be bringing you news on the Prince and Princess of Wales.
Rupert, where are you right now? Are you being held hostage? Is this a hostage situation?
Well, it's a long story. I'm in a hotel in a town called Chichester, which is actually a very pretty town on the south coast of the United Kingdom. I can see the Isle of Wight, and we've had a couple of lovely days. But I'm in a hotel that does actually feel like that I'm about to do some time. But that is the life of someone who spends quite a lot of time on his road. Accommodation, you just take what you're given. And sorry, I haven't got a sophisticated lighting set up here. You're just going to have to roll with the punches here. You can see my laundry in the back. No, my shirt's in the background for my racing week at glorious Goodwood, one of the great summer racing social occasions. I know you went to Ascot, but Goodwood is another one of our social racing occasions. So that's why I'm in the south coast of England this week in what looks like a dungeon.
Well, I can't wait to see what tattoo you get while you're staying at your locale.
But you jest. Last year we stayed in the same hotel, and I have to say it was an eye-opening moment in many ways. I felt that I was the only non-tattooed person here. But anyway, hey-ho.
All right, so let's jump right in. There is a new story that started circulating over the weekend. According to a new book by Robert Jobson, Prince William was asked to sign a waiver after clashing with King Charles over the issue of the Prince of Wales flying in a helicopter with his family. Now, this comes from Jobson's new book called Catherine, the Princess of Wales. He wrote, after being diagnosed with cancer, King Charles, perhaps reminded of his own mortality, echoed his late mother's concerns because apparently the late Queen Elizabeth also loathed the idea of Prince William in a helicopter. Jobson says, and when William refused to stop flying with his family, Charles insisted that he sign a formal document acknowledging the risks involved in taking full responsibility for his actions. It would be scant consolation, of course, for an unspeakable tragedy, let alone for the prospect of King Harry and Queen Meghan. Well, that just gives you goosebumps. Hey, but
in a recent interview, Harry expressed real concerns about returning to the UK with Meghan, saying the threats she faces are credible and ongoing. Harry isn't taking chances. And given what happened to his mother, Princess Diana,
Rupert, this is kind of protocol, right? Like, are we making something out of nothing? It's typical that we try to keep, the monarch in the air, traveling separately. It's just, at the end of the day, logistics, don't you believe?
I think ultimately it is a logistic thing. You have to, the air, so you have to. And look, while air travel, we know, in the main, is incredibly safe. And yes, William is a helicopter pilot. That was something he loved doing and loves flying his helicopter. But actually, it is actually a protocol because you can't, the air in the same, it's like the royal family always travel, sadly, with clothes for mourning, to be in mourning. It's always packed. You remember the pictures of the late Queen when she traveled to Kenya all those days ago. She was in Kenya having a lovely time. Okay, part state, but in Kenya, but had to come back. But that clothing was ready with her. It is protocol. But I think it's probably, when you say clash, I think probably had a discussion. It needed to be explained. And the reality of the new now, which is that the King I tell you what, the lights have gone off again in here. Sorry, I got even darker. I mean, I don't know why. I'm on a timer. What is happening? I'm sorry, but but all I can say is I think I understand why this is happened. It is protocol, but it's William probably having to accept the now, which is he is the heir. He can't be traveling with his future heir, i.e. his son. So it is a logistical thing. Of course, we all's families like to travel together, but it is something they're going to have to work out how they manage going forward.
Can I tell you my favorite new part that I've seen so far? I've not had the opportunity to read Robert Jobson's book about Catherine yet, but one of the details I read was about Prince William and Catherine's wedding night. He said, as they stood grinning and holding hands in the middle of the room, this is in Buckingham Palace, the opening bars of the song, "You're the One That I Want," suddenly boomed out. To their friends' delight, William and Catherine launched into the dance of the lead characters from the film Grease, mouthing the words and pointing to each other. That is one of my favorite movies. That is one of my favorite movie moments. The fact that just visualizing these two singing that together and knowing that they love the same movies that we do, it is just such a fun takeaway from this book.
Can you blame him? Meghan Markle remains a controversial figure in the UK. Every move she makes is scrutinised. Insiders say she's hesitant to return to Britain, especially without guaranteed protection. This isn't just tabloid drama, it's a genuine concern for safety. Harry's fight for protection isn't just about status, it's about survival.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And I think what it shows is that they obviously went to university, their love affair was on off. I think they just worked it out. And I think that was the important thing about their courtship. When you look back, it was not always smooth. It was actually Kate having to work out, could she take this job on? And let's be honest, it doesn't just come, I'll marry you and away we go. And that's why I think one of the problems for Meghan is that she, it's all fine and dandy to be the Duchess of Sussex, but it comes with a responsibility that is not just, you can't control it. You are then consumed by the role of being the future king's wife, and it is a tough one, but at least the wedding night, I hope that the party they had, and I hope they rocked the joint. I didn't think you were old enough to even know that that film came out in the 70s, Kinsey, but sadly I remember the film first time round, and it clearly for a lot of people was a very iconic moment. Olivia Newton-John doing the dance with John Travolta.
Oh yeah, she had to get sewn into those pants. Yeah, and then you think about the fact that I didn't know that I knew that Princess Diana had a relationship with John Travolta based on that White House dance. But I didn't realize that there was a love for this movie, which I really appreciate. And now we know that Prince Harry is trying to keep in touch with John Travolta. He was awarded an aviation award. So John Travolta, a lot of history there that I didn't even realize existed when it came to Diana's boys, other than the aviation award. Here's a funny revelation that came out of their recent financial report. It's that Prince William cut off Queen Camilla's sister from the royal payroll after 2 decades of service. Of course, this is a sensational headline, but at the end of the day, a source told, I believe it was the Telegraph, that it was no reflection on the work of Camilla's sister. I think it's great that she's an interior designer, and she, on her resume now, it says she worked for the royal family for 20 years. That sounds amazing.
Yeah, and actually, there's never been any question mark about Annabel Elliott working for the Duchy of Cornwall. And it's not as if she doesn't come with a very good, high-powered reputation. Now, you've always got to be mindful that when you've got family around, that people are immediately going to say, well, she's only got the job because of who she is. And I think it probably makes perfect sense in many ways. My lights have just suddenly come on. I don't know who's paid the bill here.
I think
Sorry,
your room is haunted. It's not even this isn't even our Halloween special yet, Rupert. Your room is haunted.
Something going on here. Anyway, so be prepared for me to be thrown into darkness again. But I digress. But I actually understand why Annabel Elliott they.
Meanwhile, royal insiders are uneasy about King Charles and Prince William flying together. It breaks a long-standing rule, one that Queen Elizabeth herself tried to enforce. The fear, if anything were to happen to both heirs at once, the monarchy could be thrown into chaos. And if you're as fascinated by these behind-the-scenes royal stories as we are,
come to the end, because it's now Prince William's gig, as it were. And I've heard that William Van Cutsem is now going to be brought into the fold to work with William. Now, he's one of his oldest friends. He runs successful companies. So actually what you're looking at there is the passing of the baton. Now, he's bringing in a trusted friend and confidant. Someone, though, when you look, it's not just someone he's dragged off the street, but someone who's run successful businesses. So, and that's certainly he and William, as we know, likes to have trusted people around him, because it is complicated, because what he doesn't want is things being leaked here, left, right, and centre. And someone like William Van Cutsem, who knows both William and Harry very well, I can see why that's happening. And for Annabel Elliott, look, she's now, probably, I think she's in her 70s, probably makes sense that now she can be more in round to just help her sister in the job of being the current queen, and all that entails, bearing in mind that the king is still recovering from cancer.
Very good point. Yeah, I'm sure that it is nice to have family closer and helping out when they can, stepping in. We've seen Meghan Markle a lot over the last few days here in the States. She attended a summit in the Hamptons Friday titled the G9 Ventures Summer Summit. This is hosted by a power broker named Amy Griffin. One of my girlfriends was there. I'm not going to say who, because I don't want to lose a good source, but we actually discovered this thanks to Page Six, who caught on to the fact that Meghan was flying via a private jet out of Santa Barbara with entrepreneur Jamie Kern-Lima. Jamie is a contact of Oprah Winfrey's. We've seen them sit down with one another. Jamie is she's a makeup entrepreneur, but she's also a motivational speaker, and she does these huge events where she talks to women about becoming the best self, the best version of themselves. According to Page Six, Meghan was there picking up tips for American Riviera Orchard. I would argue that she was panhandling for podcast guests, but she's been doing a lot of networking lately. We also saw her with the star of Father of the Bride, Kimberly Williams Paisley, out in Montecito. And, Rupert, I think she's got a tough road ahead when it comes to making friends with some of these influential women.
don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. We're bringing you the truth behind the crown every single week. Let us know in the comments. Do you think Harry's right to be worried? And should Charles and William be flying together at all? Thanks for watching. Like, comment and subscribe for more royal updates.